I think we are actually live here. Let me know in the chat if you can, if you see everything and hear everything properly. I want to make sure that this is in fact working. And if it is, we will move on with today's stream. It's just a little different when you have a upcoming thumbnail versus just going live without that. So again, let me know if you can hear me and see me, and then in the future, we'll just, go a bit more live off the cuff next time. But I'm looking over here. I think that this is actually working. So let's continue on. Okay, for today, I have a lot of great things planned, and there's a lot of fun things I was running across last night that I'd like to share. I'm going to share my screen and let you know what's going on here. So today, I want to talk about Paradigm, which is a new sparse fluid solver that's an open beta. That was just announced last night by Theory Accelerated. Really exciting there. There's a job opportunity that I'd like to share with you all, and a little bit of Bob Ross compilation. We're going to talk about environments today and what makes a successful environment, as well as take a look at a specific student work highlights. I was browsing LinkedIn. I saw an awesome project. I reached out, and I just wanted to share this amazing project with you all in the spirit of landscapes and making nice little happy environments. I thought that this would be right on topic. Okay, so starting here with Paradigm. Let me go ahead and bring this over. And again, if you're here in the chat, let me know if you can see and hear everything properly. I just really want to make sure that everything is technically working as it should. So let's check out Paradigm right here.
Introducing Paradigm, a sparse GPU-accelerated liquid solver for visual effects and computer graphics. Paradigm can handle small-scale effects, medium-scale, all the way up to the largest of scenes. Paradigm has native support for Houdini and has an easy-to-use tool set so you can get started faster. With just 4 nodes, you can get a simple splash tank up and running. If you are an Axiom user, you'll feel right at home with a similar interface and toolset. For example, you can use source shapes for quick sources, colliders, or custom forces. Paradigm is currently in open beta and free for anyone to try for a limited time. See the video description for more information regarding the beta. You'll also find links to download and for documentation to help get started with example projects. I hope you give it a try, and happy simming.
So yeah, there you go. This is a question here by History Tidbits. Paradigm, is that part of Houdini or is it an add-on? This is an add-on that's made by Theory Accelerated. I believe Matt Puchala is the mastermind behind all of this. And he wrote Axiom, which is a pyro solver. And the pyro solver, Axiom in general is just incredible. When I was making my course Pyro 3, I used Axiom a fair bit in that course. And long story short, you can get Houdini Pyro 18, 20 times faster than what Houdini natively does. It's a big deal. And oftentimes the workflows are better. They're more simplified. And as well, it looks just as high quality as a normal pyro solver would be. So the fact that this is coming out with a liquid solver is very exciting and something that I want to try out and take a look at. Now, if you go to here at the documentation, or you go to Theory Accelerated, a lot of great stuff right there to check out. One thing that was said is that this isn't fully production ready yet. However, it's a free open beta right now. So, one thing I want to do is just kind of play around with it, see what happens, see how fast this thing is. Based on what we are seeing here, this thing is running real-time fluid sims, and it looks
source shapes for quick sources.
Incredible. So I'm really excited to see what is happening here, and I thought I'd share that with you all. This was literally announced like last night, so I saw that and I said, "Yeah, gotta throw this in the stream because it's really cool." Um, so yeah, that's one thing to keep an eye out on. Another thing as well that I want to mention is that right now I have a friend of mine, Riley, who is looking for help on an upcoming project for particle work. Think like procedural modeling, growing crystals, stuff like that. So if that's something that's of interest to you, if you're looking for some freelance work right now, go ahead and send me your reel, Tyler at cgforge.com, and I'll pass it along to Riley if it ends up being a good fit. I don't know much about the project at all. I don't know what it's for or anything like that. But he reached out to me recently about that, and I thought I'd share that with you all in case you're looking for some work right now, some Houdini freelance work. So that's another cool thing that's happening. And the other thing as well is that we have some Bob Ross videos to check out today. Um, lately I've been watching a lot of Bob Ross. He's been an inspiration of mine. I kind of consider him the OG of, well, at the online training, but back when he was around, it was more like video cassette training, right? He's definitely a pioneer of, that whole thing. And I just love watching Bob Ross's painting shows. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because as I was watching, there was just so many fantastic little tidbits that relate to improving renders and improving yourself as a 3D artist. Even though it's painting, art is art, and a lot of the things that he was talking about as I was watching was just perfect advice for making a better render at the same time. So I want to show you a compilation of some stuff that I was putting together, and we could talk about it a bit, especially in the context of creating great landscapes. So just check out these little tidbits real quick.
Things when you're painting, the more planes you have in a painting, the more depth, the more distance that you'll have. Your painting will look deeper. So come right up here a minute. Look up close. Let me show you. Look at all the planes that we have here. This one right here, where these dark trees, and then this one, another one, and then you have several different planes in the mountain. Now, if you can zoom back a little bit and take a look, see, when you look at all these planes independently, look at right there, look at the depth that's in that already. And it's caused only because of all of these various planes in your painting. And that's what'll make a happy buck. Now then, let's create some reflection. It's your world, you make the big decision, throw it in. That was so much fun. Let's go over here. Maybe on this side, maybe there's a tree lives right in here. So we don't have to separate these yet. We separate them with highlights. Right now, all we need are just basic shapes. See, just push, bend that brush up. Watch right in here. Maybe you want to show a little.
So I just want to talk about something real quick. So Bob's talking here about layers and landscapes. And this is, I think, crucial if you want to have a nice landscape of any kind. Like he was saying, it's all about layers that create depth. And this is something that I've talked a lot about in art reviews is, can you feel like you're able to reach back into that picture? It doesn't feel like there's a third dimension going back into it. And if there is, that often makes a more compelling environment, a more compelling scene, a more interesting world. It feels like we're peering into a world with our renders, with our cinematography. And all it often takes are these tiny little bits of highlights. So when Bob here is painting, the way that he does it is he thinks first in large forms, and then he thinks about how to take those forms and separate them out from other elements in the scene. So what he was just talking about back here if we bring us back a little bit, is just this whole giant section of dark color. A tree is just a dark shape that then has these little highlights that really make everything pop and stand out. And if you think in terms of that, if you think about the elements in your render as basic shapes, basic sections of color that then can have little things that pop out, like highlights as an example, then you'll have better control over how you layer. And this is extremely important when you're lighting, when you're shading, when you're creating a pretty picture. Now let's watch what else he does to add in these different layers.
With highlights. Right now, all we need are just basic shapes. See, just push, bend that brush up. Watch right in here. Maybe you want to show another little plane. Touch here with the fan brush and lift upward. It'll make it look like little tree trunks far away, but it also begins creating the illusion of another plane in the painting. See it? Looks like a little bank back here, and it also looks like little tree trunks. Hundreds of little tree trunks. Isn't that sneaky? And the more of these you put in, the better it'll look. The more planes that you have in your painting. Now, if you get one here that you don't like or it's too bright, all you have to do is work it in and all that dark color back.
And take a look when it zooms back too. All it took was just the tiniest little bit of highlight right there. And all of a sudden we have 1, 2, 3 more planes. And oftentimes one of the things I notice about professional work is just the awareness of how a small, subtle thing can create more depth, or how just the tiniest little bit of highlight can affect the overall picture. And that is something I think that as 3D artists, we should all be very aware of. Like what tiny things can create extra dimension within our renders. And that's a perfect example of Bob doing that in real time.
Back there will eat it up. Pull straight down. But very important here. See this little misty area right in here? You want to save that mist that's between the foothill and the mountain. If you kill that misty area, these foothills are going to look like they're right up against the mountain, and you don't want that. Gentle.
Again, the idea of layers and how you can use volumetrics and mist to create this separation of various elements. Oftentimes when people create environments, they're not thinking about that separation. And then when you see trees and you see nothing separating, let's say a tree from a mountain, visually it just looks like the trees are just kind of almost like a sticker that's being put on the mountain. There's no separation. It's just kind of stuck to it. And that's an example of that in his painting right here. What's amazing about all of this is just how relevant this really is to CGI, and how you can just take artistic principles in general like this, just by observing, just by being aware of them. And that makes all the difference between professional work and amateur work. It's really, it's the subtle, tiny little tidbits, the subtle little things that add up to make a great picture.
Upward lifts. Gentle, gentle, gentle. All right. Now then, maybe we'll put one coming down this way. Same color, only darker. Same color, only darker. So, as things get closer to you in the landscape, they should get darker in value. A little darker in value as they get closer.
And then that's another thing too, going and just recognizing that things get darker as they get closer to you, and things get more washed out and hazy as they go into the backdrop. Now, bearing all of that in mind, I want to bring up a student's highlights today. And that is from Ryota Sugisaki. I was just browsing LinkedIn. I was looking for people to reach out to interview, talk about great art. I had no idea that Ryota was a student, and I ran across his work and I thought he was really great, especially when it came to landscapes. So I just want to highlight his work, and I'm going to we're going to watch his full reel. And then I also want to talk about specific elements for this very first project right here. So let me make sure I have the right video up. I think it's this one. Oh, no, it's the other one actually. Okay. So yeah, let's take a look at the whole reel first. So there you have it. I thought it was a really nice student reel. And I thought, especially with this very first project, that it really, this is the main thing that really caught my eye initially when it came to just nice environment work. And I mean, talk about layers, right? So originally, I had reached out to Ryota for an interview. One thing that's so Ryota's from Japan, and his conversational English isn't quite there yet for a in-person interview. So instead, we opted for a written interview, and I was able to send him some questions. And then I was able to get a bit more information about this project, and we can just do it this way, which I think is really cool. So I want to bring up just this right here, and I'm also going to bring up the loop. I have this particular scene looped as well. So let's see if it's this one. Yes. Okay. So we're talking about this project right here. And there we go. We'll just kind of pause it right here. Okay. So let's see. Before we get into that, this is from Alfadi. Hello there. Student work highlights. Do you have your own course? Yeah, I do have my own environments course, but Ryota actually didn't do that one. This actually is not a student of mine, but it's just a student in general that is making amazing work that I love to highlight. So the first question I had, I apologize for all these window switchings here. Let me bring this up right here. Okay, the first question I had for Ryota was, how did you start this project? Did you know what you were going to do before starting or have a clear idea in mind? Because often when we start projects, it's not always clear what we want to do. And I feel like the blank canvas effect often plagues us where we get overwhelmed by all the possibilities right away. So I was curious how he started this. He said, this project originally started during an internship at a studio in Japan, where the overall theme was already decided. It was chosen as a way for me to learn how to create natural environments, which I hadn't worked on much before. Which is interesting because based on this, you think that, he's done a lot of environment work. But this is actually one of the first environments that Ryota had tackled, or one of the more, newer topics, I suppose. While the theme was set, I had a lot of freedom with the layout and the composition. After the internship, I continued developing the project on my own and improved the quality based on feedback and advice I received from overseas CG communities, especially CG Lounge, as well as personal guidance from Masashi Imogawa. Through early layout tests, reference gathering, and multiple iterations, I gradually refined and locked in the final direction for the scene. So I thought that was very interesting and something that if you are a student right now, you should, note a couple of things. So first of all, here, one thing to note is that this project it's something that gradually came together. It's not like he went on version one and then worked on it for a month or so and then just put it out there, right? This is a very refined looking project in large part because it went through many iterations. It started out as as an exercise of creating a environment, it sounds like. And then after that, after the shot was done, he went back to it and he sought out professional feedback. And he also sought out online tutorials to improve some of the things that were happening here. And through many iterations and through, again, I want to emphasize professional personal guidance from mentors, that's how this was able to have that professional polish over time. So in your own projects, one thing I would say is that if you are trying to refine something on your demo reel, don't keep it to yourself. Try reaching out to get professional feedback. That's something that I offer at CG Forge as well. You can schedule one-on-one mentorship calls with me to get this sort of feedback. You can also do so with other people. If you were at an internship, you can reach out to other artists in the community. You can post it online. The main thing is you want to find someone or perhaps multiple people lending their expertise to help you get that professional polish, because it's just not something that you can easily figure out on your own. So that's one interesting thing to note here about this project. Now, my second question here is what parts were made specifically with Houdini? Because if we take a look here at the bottom right, this is using Houdini, Blender, Nuke, Gaia. This, here, let's get rid of this. Well, okay. Yeah. Houdini, Blender, Nuke, Gaia, ZBrush, Photoshop, and Redshift. So a lot of stuff was coming together with this. And I was curious which parts were specifically Houdini. So he said, for the trees, I use Houdini Labs tree node together with Megascan assets. So based on what I can see right here, it looks like it's mostly Megascans, but probably using the Houdini Labs tree to kind of like fill in those areas if I was to guess, just by what I see right here. So using Megascans, using any kind of scan model automatically adds a ton of detail. At the time, I didn't have access to SpeedTree, and I also wanted a workflow that stayed fully inside of Houdini, so this approach worked well for me. And it sounds like the assembly and render was also done in Houdini by the sound of that. Let's see here. This is a question by Alfadi. Cool. Where can I find more information about your course? You can just go to CG Forge. I have a environments course there if you'd like to check that out. But anyway, back to the questions here, the interview questions. Number 3, do you have any experience with other artistic mediums like photography or painting? Based on all of this, I'm noticing a lot of these layers that Bob was talking about. I'm noticing a lot of these artistic aspects that are being understood by this artist here. And so what was interesting is that said, I've always collected movies, visual works, and photos that inspire me. And I often spend time thinking about why they work visually. I think that habit helped guide a lot of my decisions on this project. So there you go. It doesn't matter if it's painting, photography, cinematography. It's all about thinking more deeply about the images we see and how they're constructed. You don't have to be a practicing painter or a practicing photographer to see with your eyes and to recognize these artistic principles. Let's just take a look here at all these different planes, just like, Bob Ross was talking about just a second ago. We have things getting darker in the foreground, lighter as it goes back. Look at all the different layers separated by mist, separated by highlights and silhouettes of the tree. If we go down here, look at these little rim highlights along the tree and how that pops it off of the backdrop. It doesn't just blend into the mountain. All of these layers of fog take the elements and add tons of depth as we go back. We have a layer of fog right there. We have another layer of fog that creates these silhouettes. We have all of this happening right here. And then as we go back, things blend more and more into a kind of washed out gray or, a more atmospheric unified color. And so all of these landscape principles are at play right here, and it really shows. And again, you have this in photography. If you study landscape photography, it's the same thing. You have planes, you have that, same with painting, et cetera, et cetera. So the next question here is, which parts of the project use ZBrush? What's your opinion on what is handcrafted versus procedurally generated? I was just very curious to know what is handmade versus what is like a tool or like a procedurally generated thing. It says this, in general, I start by thinking about a procedural approach, but if hand modeling feels faster or if I have a very specific shape in mind, I'll switch to a manual workflow. Procedural tools are powerful, but I think they work best when combined with handcrafted work. And to that, I 100% agree. I think that it's very common for people to get in this mindset of, oh, proceduralism is better than handcrafted or handcrafted is better than proceduralism. No, the right answer depends on the situation and is often both. As an example, if we take a look at this diagram that was kindly provided by Ryota, we can see exactly what was ZBrushed in here. All of these crazy shapes, these alien looking mountains that are just jetting in. Look at what they do to the composition. Look at how the composition just kind of wraps like that in this area. It kind of just, everything just kind of does this to a specific portion of the frame. That also creates depth, by the way, using motion to guide the eye in a certain direction. And in particular, in an area of the frame that has the most layering is going to create that depth. And the nice thing about using ZBrush right here is that you are able to get those exact silhouettes, those exact shapes that aided the composition that you're looking for. Oftentimes with proceduralism, you don't get that last 10, 20% of control that might be necessary for a shot if you want that specific area to be emphasized, or if you want this particular mountain to do something specific for you. So I think this is a good example of using both in such a way that aids the composition and improves the piece, which is great. So that was really cool. The next question here, what advice would you have for other environment artists that are interested in improving their scene layouts? I thought that the layout was really nice in this, and this is what he had to say. Learning composition is important, but I think studying existing films and photographs is just as valuable. Analyzing why certain layouts work and building up your visual library can really help when designing scenes. So again, composition, have a library of reference that you refer to when you're working, and just a library that inspires you. Work that you think is really cool and that you can analyze and think about and just immerse yourself with. If you do that and you make it a habit to immerse yourself in the work that you really enjoy and trying to unpack what's happening on a technical level, not just enjoying it as a viewer, but really getting into it, that is the secret sauce that can make its way into your renders, into your art, and make your portfolio stand out. Because the way that you see the world is going to be different than the way that other people see the world. And eventually, that's going to lead your work looking different and being different than everyone else's work in a good way, because it's more of a reflection of you and your observations and your personal taste for the things that you enjoy seeing. So completely agree with that as well. Next question. Are you currently in school, graduated, working freelance? He says, I'm currently a fourth-year university student majoring in mathematical information engineering. I'm writing my graduation thesis right now. I've also done some freelance work, including 3D modeling and CG work for films and commercials. Starting this year, I'll be beginning my career at a studio in Tokyo. So, yeah, again, just really amazing student work, and a student in mathematical information engineering, no less. So take the artistic skills, take the mathematical sort of technical skills, put them together, and you have the recipe for a great Houdini artist. Last question. What's the best way for people to follow your work in the future? And for this, I'll just put it right here. I mainly share my work on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, ArtStation. Here are all the links. I'll put these in the video description once we're done live streaming here as well. And just additional notes. The initial layout was blocked out in Blender and then refined and fully built in Houdini. The distant mountains were created in Gaia, adjusted in Houdini, and finished with matte painting after rendering. So it wasn't just using Houdini for everything. Like most production projects, you're using multiple softwares to put things together. That's the norm, I would say, at studios. It's not just one software. But Houdini was kind of like the central to his pipeline on this project. And yeah, it worked really well. That all being said, well done here, Ryota. Thanks for sending me those responses for the interview. I'm glad we can make this happen. And yeah, and if you guys are interested in following Ryota, add him on LinkedIn, follow his ArtStation, et cetera, et cetera. Also, I want to say that if you would like to join me for an interview on the Weekly Wrangle, or just submit your work for feedback, or just kind of like an overview of what we just did, let me know. You can send an email to tyler@cgforge.com. And I love to highlight more people, especially if I think the work stands out. I think that by looking at great work and celebrating it, we can all become better artists as a result of that. Now, one last thing before we wrap things up. I want to go back to Bob Ross, because there was a bit of information. There was a bit of advice, sage advice, if you will, that really caught my attention and that I really enjoyed. So let's go back here and just hear what he has to say about being an artist and all that.
Spend so much time working on mountains. Let's just real quickly here throw in something else so we have a nice finished painting. But when you're practicing at home, just make layer after layer after layer of mountains. The important thing is not ending with a finished painting. It's learning how to do mountains, or whatever it is that you want to learn. And when you're painting at home, look at each painting. Each painting is a learning experience. Look at it. It'll have super good things in it. Maybe it'll have some things in it that are a little weak. Those things that are a little weak, spend some time practicing those. And don't get upset with them. Don't get upset with them. Something I used to tell my students all the time, which I sincerely believe with all my heart. If you ever, in your whole painting career, do a painting that you're totally satisfied with, you might as well stop. Your painting career is over. You have nowhere else to go. The fact that you're dissatisfied with your painting when it's done and you can see room for improvement is a blessing. Cherish it. Cherish it. I love people who are plagued with dissatisfaction. It's the most fantastic thing you can own. If you're satisfied with everything you do, then you don't try anymore. I hope you're always plagued with dissatisfaction in your painting. There. Because if you are, you're lucky. I have yet to do a painting that I'm satisfied with, but one day I'm going to. The next painting may be it. Now, I've used the same color here.
And there you have it. Straight from the greatest of all time. I hope that this week you are completely dissatisfied with your work, that your pursuit for quality, your pursuit for understanding the world around you is not satisfied and makes you curious and hungry to explore what you find inspirational and to improve as an artist. I think that's a great message, a great thing to start here this week. That's a good way to start a Monday. And don't forget layers, layers and layers and layers. That's a really, really big thing. I want to take a look at the live chat here before we wrap this up. If you have anything you want to add, just go for it. This here is from Graphic Asa357. I'm in love with 3D and I've started learning Blender. What is a proper learning path for animation? It really depends on what kind of animation you want to do. Animation is quite broad. If we're talking about CGI, if we're talking about 2D animation, there are different paths for different things. And so feel free to send me a message, again, at tyler@cgforge.com. I'd be happy to give you more specific advice on that. And I'm happy to set you in the right direction. But it really just depends on what you're trying to do and what you find inspiring, because that answer changes depending on that. So I think that about does it for today. Thank you for joining. And until next time, I hope you have a fantastic week. Take care.